I'm just gonna get started. Welcome back for another true crime whispered video. I want this to go up on Monday. I'm gonna try my best. So a very happy Monday to everyone. As you know, Mondays suck. But what can make them a little bit better is a fun drink and an interesting story, which is what we're going to be doing today. And I'm excited because I went out and got another ginger beer. I haven't had this since the last video, and I'm really excited about it. So this is not alcohol. It's basically just like a ginger pop, and it was one of the best drinks I've ever had. So we're gonna be sipping on that, and I put it in my doggy wine glass because I like to be fancy. That's what we're doing. And then of course, oh god, that's heavy. I've got a giant thing of tea because it wouldn't be a Leah video without tea. And yeah, just a disclaimer. Of course, I do not mean any disrespect whatsoever to any of the people that I will be talking about. I am simply telling you a story. I'm doing it in a whisper because people find it relaxing. So without further ado, let's get into the video. I was gonna open the bottle before the video, and I forgot. So you can watch me struggle again. Nope. Come on. Ow. I can smell the ginger though. It smells really good. Okay, this is the one. Let's go. I got it. Oh, it smells just like I remember. That sounded weird. That'll fit. Okay, cheers everyone. I forgot how good this was. It is so spicy, which I love. If you do not like the spice of ginger, you're not gonna like this. But if you do, you gotta try this. That one is called the Great Gentleman's Ginger Beer. Oh, it's so good. Okay, I told you I'm rusty. Let's get into it. So in the spring of 1966, 3 men named Manuel Pereira de Cruz, Miguel Jose Viana, and Elcio Gomez, and I apologize if I pronounce names and places incorrectly. I'm going to try my best. These 3 men, who were all professional electronics technicians, they were involved in an experiment that was located on Atafona Beach, which is located in Campos, Brazil. And this was a really weird experiment because not only was it very dangerous and it put people's lives and their homes in danger, the Brazilian army got involved with it, but there was also like an explosion and reports of a UFO. So there were reports of, quote, an intensely luminous object that came down over the shore. 5 minutes later, there was a blinding flash of light and then an explosion. So this really dangerous experiment, if that's what it actually even was, it resulted in this massive explosion even though these were like professionals, it's not like they had a permit or anything to be doing this type of thing on the beach. It was really, really weird. Hold on. And then, in addition, several fishermen reported seeing what they recalled as a UFO during this explosion, and they said that this UFO or craft, it fell into the sea right after this explosion. And then a month later, Manuel and Miguel were again involved in another experiment that resulted in another explosion. And this time, the experiment, it took place in Manuel's own family's backyard, where, quote, a homemade artifact exploded. There was like remnants and debris everywhere. It wasn't a small explosion, it was big. And then, roughly 2 months later, in August, Manuel and Miguel would be found dead on top of a hill in Niteroi, Brazil. And around the time of their estimated deaths, once again, a large explosion and a fireball in the sky was reported by several witnesses just above that hill where they were found. So, clearly something very weird was going on with these science experiments, or whatever they actually were, and we're going to get into all of it. So yeah, this is the super bizarre lead masks case, which is still unsolved today, and nobody knows whether it was true crime, alien, or something else entirely. Okay, I can't stop sipping on this. I have to put it down because I'm going to drink it too fast if I don't. Okay, so the case today really begins on August 20th, 1966, in the municipality of Niteroi, Brazil, which is just outside of Rio de Janeiro. According to Google, it's like a 20-minute drive or so. Never been there. Would love to go, but I'm just going on the information that I could find. And this is what happened. A teenage boy named George da Costa Alves, he was flying a kite on Vintem Hill in Niteroi. And I'm sure if you've ever flown a kite, you know that you might not really pay attention to like what your feet are doing, right? Because you're just kind of looking to the sky. And in this case, his kite got stuck in a tree up on the hill, and as he is trying to get it free, this young guy notices a terrible smell, and he discovers something on that hill that nobody, especially a young kid, should ever have to find. He finds the bodies of 2 deceased men who are laying on the ground, and according to Unsolved Mysteries Podcast, apparently he had seen them 3 days earlier on August 17th, and he recalled them being very much alive, sitting on that hill, and then when he came across them again on the 20th, they were deceased, and he recognized them immediately. And the reason that he recognized them was because both of these men were wearing these really nice obviously I understand that search and rescue is dangerous, but still, it blows my mind. Because don't you wonder, like, what if the men were still alive and they could have been helped? You never know, right? Especially if it was a young kid that originally found them. Police and firefighters, they head out the next morning, and as I said, because of the bad rain that they'd had, it actually took them 2 hours to get to the top of Vintem Hill. And like George had explained, these 2 men were lying in the weeds, wearing matching raincoats with really nice formal suits underneath. And again, beside them, police see these really weird glasses or masks. But as I said, they're not glasses. Like, there's nothing to see out of. And they quickly figure out that these things are literally solid pieces of lead. Like, yeah, like the metal lead. And it was clear that each one of these glasses or masks were handmade, and they were very roughly carved or cut from a very thin single sheet of metal. And it was very, very weird because it was only the part that would cover your eyes and like slightly go over your nose. They didn't have the, like the handles or whatever they're called that go over your ears. So there wasn't even really a way to like keep them attached to your face. So nobody knew what to make of this whatsoever. And to me, I know this sounds weird, but to me that means that they planned on wearing these masks probably while lying down, because you can rest a pair of glasses on your face if you're lying down horizontally and you don't have to use the things over your ears, right? And I actually haven't seen anybody else mention that theory online, and I did a lot of research for this, but I'm sure it's out there. But I definitely feel like a very real internet sleuth. Like, I came up with that theory. But regardless, I'm sure someone else has thought of it. Regardless, that's actually a pretty important piece of information to keep in mind, and I will come back to that theory later. But yeah, to me it means that they were planning on lying down and protecting their vision from something that was coming overhead, right? Like they were laying on their backs and looking up to the sky. Keep that in mind, okay? Anyways, upon further inspection of the men themselves and the scene, they also find what Mikhail had seen. They see this one empty bottle of mineral water. They find the receipt for that bottle of water. They find what was found to be a package of wet towels, 2 separate small amounts of cash. One of them is stored in a plastic bag and then inside of clothing. Another is just in a pocket. There's a wedding ring tied to a reading glass. They find square pieces of cellophane which were, quote, impregnated with some type of substance. There's a newspaper from the day that they went missing, improvised cups which were made of aluminum foil, which is weird. They find a watch inside one of their pockets, 2 unused bus tickets from Niteroi back to Compos, and then there are 3 pieces of paper with Mikhail's handwriting on them, or I believe at first they think it's Mikhail's handwriting because I think they found these pieces of paper on Mikhail. Now, the handwritten notes are by far the strangest part here, and this is what each of them say. One of them has some very weird instructions which are written in Portuguese, and then there's also some handwritten mathematical equations, and then another piece of paper that has some alphanumeric code that police don't know what it is. They have no idea how to read it or how to decipher it. translation from Portuguese to English. Like, even to the police at the time, it didn't really make any sense to anybody. And it suggested that since the masks were made of solid lead, the only reason that anybody would be wearing a lead mask would be to protect themselves from radiation poisoning. So from what I have read, the density of lead's atoms, they make it so radiation actually can't penetrate it very well. So lead is actually used in radiation protection clothing. But even though that kind of makes sense, it's still really weird because these masks, they would have only covered the eyes and this tiny little portion of the nose. So radiation would have definitely still penetrated the entire rest of their face and their body. So yeah, like for every other part, for the entirety of this case, actually, it doesn't make sense. Unless for some weird reason they were only trying to protect their eyeballs. Which, what? Also, and many others have said the same thing, this note, it seems like it was written very abruptly. Like if somebody has ever given you, like really detailed instructions for something that you had to do, you usually can memorize most of it, right? But if you do just quickly scribble down a few words just to make sure that you remember like the order of those instructions or something, right? To me, that's what this note kind of sounds like. Like they were given these instructions from somebody else, and one of them very quickly scribbled a few notes or a few words down just so they wouldn't forget it. You know, the note or the instructions, they just seem very terse. That's a good way to put it. But there was another handwritten note, and this is what this one said. Quote, Sunday, 1 capsule after the meal. Monday, 1 tablet in the morning on an empty stomach. Tuesday, 1 tablet after the meal. Wednesday, 1 tablet before bedtime. What the hell is going on here? This case is so bizarre. But obviously, just from that, they were supposed to swallow some type of capsule and wait for whatever effect it was going to have on them. So right away, you know something very weird, probably really dangerous, was going on here. And I'll get into it in a bit. But the autopsy of their bodies was pretty much botched from what I have been able to research. And whether it was because it was 1966 and they didn't really have the ability or the technology, or it was simply human error, no toxicology report was able to determine if these 2 men had indeed ingested some type of capsule or poison. Very, very strange. And an even more interesting note was that a few days after they were found, police determined that the handwriting of these instructions actually didn't match the writing of either Miguel or Manuel, which to me just screams foul play, because who the heck was telling them to ingest these capsules and wait for the effects? That person has never been found, but it just makes it very obvious that somebody else was involved here, and they were giving them these weird instructions. Yeah. I apologize for the sounds that I make when I sip. Can't help it. But you guys know how these videos go. They're usually a little bit chaotic, and that's okay. So, the police also find a handwritten equation on one piece of paper. well, maybe they were robbed. But then again, police say that there were no visible physical injuries at the scene either. So again, it's just very weird. And the theory that they were robbed and probably attacked, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. But of course, you have to keep in mind that they had been on that hill for 3 days or so at that point. So physical evidence was likely disappearing, if you know what I mean. Other initial theories included the possibility that they were engaged in some type of illegal smuggling. Apparently, some type of electronic equipment at this time was really hard to come by. But again, like, that just didn't make a whole lot of sense, either because they didn't purchase any equipment while in Niteroi. They weren't seen carrying any large quantities of stuff, and they were found on top of a mountain. So nobody knows, like, how some sort of illegal exchange of electronic equipment could have taken place, right? That just didn't make any sense. That theory didn't really hold any water. Another theory was that the two men were involved in espionage, which is just a whole other can of worms, and I couldn't really find a whole lot on that, but I highly doubt that was what was going on. With their identities, police were quickly able to contact their families, and with their families' help, as well as help from the people in Niteroi who had made contact with them, police were able to piece together the men's last movements. And it was so weird because both men gave the exact same story, which was a lie, to their wives. So they were up to something secretive, and they clearly didn't want their families to know what it was. And the case from here would just take a complete 180 from theories of homicide to robbery to espionage, right to UFOs that were seen flying over the area that night, which I know sounds crazy, but the weird thing is that a lot of evidence actually pointed to this becoming some sort of UFO case, but it's probably not exactly what you're thinking. To me, this is definitely true crime, so let me tell you about it. So on August 17th, 3 days before they were found, both Miguel and Manuel's wives told police that their husbands had left home at roughly 9:00 a.m. They said that together they were going to travel to South inside the station, and there they ran into another friend named Elcio Gomez, who saw them off on their bus ride and said goodbye. But they didn't go to Sao Paulo that morning like they told everybody. Instead, they boarded a bus to Niteroi instead. Now, unless I typed in the wrong places, which I don't think I did, Sao Paulo looks to be about a 9-hour drive from their hometown, whereas Niteroi was roughly 5 hours at the time. So it's like the first red flag that something really weird was going on here. Why did they lie to their families about their destination? They lied about where they were going, and then 3 days later, these poor men are found dead on top of a mountain in Niteroi. So either they changed their mind at the very last minute and they went to Niteroi where they died, or that was their plan all along. But upon further investigation, police were able to put together a timeline of their last movements in Niteroi as best they could, and it's pretty detailed, but it's very bizarre. So the bus ride took them roughly 5 hours. They get off the bus in Niteroi at about 2 o'clock p.m. and it's pouring rain, which I don't think they were expecting. But the formal suits that they were wearing, they were dressed up for whatever they were doing. Their suits were soaking wet. And right after they arrive, they end up going to an electronics store, like they said they were going to do, just in a different city. And in this store, they end up speaking with the owner, who they actually know, and they ask him for some electronic parts that he doesn't carry in his shop. And apparently when this owner was questioned, he said that he found their request really weird because, again, Miguel and Manuel were specialists and they knew their stuff, and they also knew that the parts that they were requesting were not sold in his city. So he said that the interaction was just very weird. And then they asked the shop owner if he wants to hop on a bus with them and go to Sao Paulo so they can go and try to find those electronic parts, which was also just weird because they wanted the owner to just like drop everything that he was doing, close up his shop, and go with him on another like 4-hour bus ride. And yeah, there were 2 other witnesses who saw and heard this conversation. It was another employee in the store as well as a taxi driver, and they confirmed the weirdness of it. Miguel and Manuel left the electronics store and they went straight to a clothing store where they bought matching raincoats after that. Because again, it was pouring rain out. But this is just even weirder because the clerk in the store said that the men were in this huge hurry, and despite the downpour going on outside and the very reason for buying raincoats, they didn't even put the coats on before leaving the store. They just walked to their next destination and got even wetter. And then the next place that they stopped was at a bar located near Vintem Hill. And here they're served by a woman named Maria, who was the daughter of the owner. And she says that the men were acting really strange. She said it was very clear that they were anxious and they were constantly checking the time on their watches. And it was very clear that they were in a hurry to leave and that they were very stressed about the time. But this is an even bigger red flag because despite them being so concerned with the time, they take a few extra minutes to wait named Grisinda was driving past Vintem Hill, where she and her 3 children saw a very weird flying object over that hill. She described it as, quote, an oval-shaped object of an orangey color with a band of fire around its edges. The object was sending out blue rays of light in all directions, and it was hanging over the top of the hill. Grisinda stopped her car, and with her 3 children, they got out and they watched this object as it rose and fell vertically for some 3 or 4 minutes. They raced home. Grisinda tells her husband about it, and he actually thought it was so weird that he drove back out there himself to go and see it. But by the time he got there, it was gone. He didn't see it at all. So, obviously though, if Manuel and Miguel were alive at that point, they too had to have seen this weird glowing object with blue lights in the sky. And you have to wonder if this thing has something to do with their deaths. Right? And the very next morning, a young boy is on top of Vintem Hill setting traps for small animals when he actually came across Miguel and Manuel laying in the grass. And he doesn't know what they're doing, if they are alive. He doesn't know what's going on. But I'm pretty sure deep down he knew that the situation was not good, because like George, he ran away in terror. And this poor little kid, he ran to a local policeman's house, reports what he saw on the hill, but for some reason the guy doesn't take him seriously and ignores him. And it wouldn't be until 2 days later, on the 20th, when George found them. And then it took police another day to finally get there. So the men were laying there for 3 days. And of course, something off happens with the investigation, like it always seems to happen in these cases. And it was with the examination of the bodies. So apparently, the coroner's office that day was extremely busy. Apparently, an important detective had passed away, and his body was in the coroner's office. And for some reason, the whole police force was like pressuring them to release the body, and the head coroner just wasn't available to look at Miguel and Manuel. So from the beginning, the whole thing just sounds chaotic, right? Chaotic. Shut up. The whole thing sounds chaotic. And apparently they failed to follow protocol, and it was the assistant coroner who took over the exam, and he began preparing the men for autopsy by removing their organs. And he was not supposed to do this. He was supposed to wait for the main coroner, but he didn't follow protocol. And this guy said that he found no signs of physical violence to the bodies, so he didn't know what their cause of death was. Which, that's so bad. He didn't follow protocol for the 10th time. Like, what if he was only the assistant, right? So what if he simply was not as experienced, which I'm sure that was the case, and he missed some very, very important detail that is just so bad. And you would think, okay, it probably can't get any worse than that, right? You'd be wrong. It gets worse. 3 days later, the men are laid to rest, and a reporter ends up going to the coroner's office to get some more information about what happened to them. And it is solved. Some of the puzzle pieces here were finally being put together a little bit. So clearly, these electronic technicians were doing something where they were exploding weird devices. And with 2 previous experiments like this under their belts, I think it makes sense to assume that on the night of August 17th, maybe they tried another experiment at the top of Vintem Hill, where once again, something exploded, and multiple people, including Christinda, saw it. But this time, they were not so lucky. Something happened, and they actually died. So, what the hell were they doing up there on the hill that night? That's the biggest question. And because it's me, I have to wonder if there actually was a UFO. Was there actually a UFO, or was this just another device that they were playing with and exploding? I don't know, but you still don't know what is going on, because things are about to get even weirder. And I'm not lying. It soon surfaces that another man, previous to Manuel and Miguel, he also died under the exact same circumstances that they did. According to the Flying Saucer Review, which I know sounds weird, but apparently was actually a very reputable source in the 60s, in 1962, another TV technician, electronics technician, was also found dead as much as I love the idea of being able to actually communicate telepathically with aliens on Mars, like I think that's very cool, taking drugs is not the way to go about this, okay? Drugs like LSD do not make us more open to receiving thought waves. I'm so sorry to disappoint you. LSD will definitely alter your brain, but not in a good way and not in the way that you think it does. What a drug like LSD does is it binds to the receptors in your brain and it interrupts your brain's reaction to serotonin, the very, very important neurotransmitter that is responsible for our mood, our emotions, our cognition, as well as the really big one, our perceptions, what we are seeing and what we are hearing. So what does this mean? It means that it alters your perception of time, space, and sounds. And what does that lead to? Well, it often leads to auditory and visual hallucinations that are not really there. This yoga professor went on to say that Miguel and Manuel were likely what is called spiritists, who believed that they could communicate with spirits or other beings telepathically. And apparently, spiritism was not only very popular in Brazil at this time, I think maybe it still is, but strangely, it was practiced by a huge number of electronic technicians. And I'll get into that in a minute, but I just thought that was so interesting. So without going into too much detail here, I think the basic definition of this belief is that a spirit or a soul, it becomes attached to a living body, and then when we die, that soul will go back to the spirit realm until it can be reborn into another body, which, like, let me just say right off the bat, I personally love that belief. I believe in reincarnation, and I think that's actually a really beautiful way to think about death and life. But anyway, scientific spiritism was largely started by a man named Allan Kardec, who was a European scientist in the 1800s. And he was very influenced by the popularity of seances and mediums claiming that they could contact the dead. And what he did was he became interested in this, and he conducted an experiment to try and rule out like the phony mediums who claimed that they could contact spirits, because he wanted to see if they were actually legit. And he did this by coming up with a list of over 1,000 questions, and these questions were all very philosophical. Like, they were asking about the creation of the universe and where spirits go after death and life and earth and our purpose here, and philosophical questions, right? And he got the mediums to ask the spirits for the answers to these questions, and he gave these questions to 10 of like the most recognized or renowned mediums in Europe, and they were all from different countries, I believe. Like, they were very, very spaced out. And what he found was that despite these people not knowing one another and having zero communication with each other, remember it was the 1800s, these 10 mediums all gave the exact same answers. So he believed that there was something scientific going on here, like something that could actually be studied. And he believed that there was some sort of spiritual realm and eventually be able to communicate telepathically with spirits or beings. But specifically, they were not trying to contact ghosts or something from the other realm. They were actively trying to communicate with aliens from the planet Mars. That's why we're getting into this. So obviously, anyway, it was confirmed that Alcio Gomez was present during that experiment. And just from the sounds of it, like, he wasn't very forthcoming about how involved he actually was with Manuel and Miguel before they died. So it was weird. Like, the wife said that he was like their partner or collaborator, kind of, and it just kind of sounded like he had something to hide. Maybe. I don't know. But he also did have a really tight alibi for the time frame for when his friends were in Niteroi. It was confirmed that he was in Campos, and he was able to prove that. So, because of the argument that one of the widows said she saw, they obviously had to check into that, but yeah, he had an alibi. Yeah. And one last, like, very strange and negative information was something released by actually the Brazilian Naval and Air Force Intelligence Service. They said that on June 12th, so roughly a couple of months before their deaths, they intercepted a very strange radio conversation between 3 radio hams. And apparently radio ham is like, or a radio ham, it's like an amateur radio station or frequency, I guess. I'm not exactly sure of the wording, but anyway, yeah, they intercepted 3 very weird radio conversations, and they never released what was actually said in those conversations, but they did say that these 3 radio stations, or what they called prefixes, they didn't exist in the register for amateur radio transmitting stations in Brazil. So there was some secret radio communications going on that the government happened to intercept right before these 3 explosions. Does that not seem very, very, very weird to you? And then on top of it, the fact that there were 3 of them, like 3 men involved, like Manuel, Miguel, and Alcio. I don't know, I think that seems weird. Hold on, I think this is a pretty wild assumption, I'm gonna fully admit that, but I think it's interesting. Like, what if each radio frequency was one of the men? One was Miguel, one was Manuel, and then one was Alcio. Or even more crazy, stick with me here, what if it wasn't a radio? Like, what if they were actually communicating with something else telepathically? What if it was aliens? And what if the military assumed it was just radio? Is it possible? Probably not, but my mind goes there. I don't know, you guys. I would really, really love to hear your thoughts and opinions on this. As I said, this case is completely unsolved to this day. Nobody knows what happened. Nobody knows how these men died, what was going on with the weird masks and the weird instructions, and who was actually behind it. I know that I have quite a few viewers here who are from Brazil, so I'm sure that you guys know this case very well. I have only been learning about this for the past few days, so I would love to hear your thoughts on it especially. I have a tendency to definitely speculate in these types of cases, and in all honesty, I really feel that this was some type of spiritist group that took advantage of these poor men. Like, some sort of plan went down where a very large exchange of money was direction. They